Welcome. New
I
intro.
like it.
Yeah, keep the vibes up. Some of us are on a 2 game win streak, so we're feeling good, feeling fresh. Next
Congratulations, by
to
the way.
you. Thank you. Joined by Mr. Purcell. I don't know what your team name is these days. I have some invitations out for people to join the pod who have not been on, but have not gotten text back. So here we are, stuck with the bald man. How's it going, sir?
Good, good. Poured me a little congratulatory pop for you right here,
There you go. What do we got there?
Little legend. So,
Oh, okay. Nice, nice. But yeah, so another week in the books. It's hard to believe we're already halfway through the NFL, the actual NFL season, and we got less regular season games in fantasy than we did before. So playoff push is a real thing now. So yeah, I'm gonna give you the respect since you were on the guest. We did have some fan questions come in, so if you'd
let's
be
hear these.
gracious enough to answer those, that would be great. First one that came in here was an email that I received yesterday afternoon from bald bitches get fucked at umbc.edu. How did it feel to get smoked by Team Bucher?
Oh man, they're hitting me where it hurts. That's a good one though. And I like that email as well. So you know, going down the bench, adding up numbers, I don't think there's anything I could have done to turn the tides on this one. And if you're gonna go down that hard, with a almost 40-point difference, then the team to lose to is going to be that number one seed. So mad respect. Props to him on congratulating him for his win and all. I talked a lot of smack this week, and it came around and bit me in the ass. So
Yeah, I do appreciate Nick's energy. He doesn't like to talk a lot of shit, but he lets his team go out there and smack you in the mouth a little bit, and I can respect that. So, but you got to go down swinging. I know how Purcell likes to rock and roll world. But next question here, we got some fan mail all the way from Topeka, Kansas, from Wuhan Wheezing Ho. So clearly a big fan of the Weezer. Who are your teams that you think are going to drop out of the playoffs? And who do you think comes up and in? And I'll share my screen here so you can. This gets a little easier for you. So let me just get that up. So let's pull the standings here real quick. And so we're looking in this world of these 6, 7, 8. These teams here. I'll say Wuhan through Nate. Which ones do you think rise, fall, or do you think this is kind of where it ends up?
yeah, good question. So I think Georgia's team has cemented itself in there. I don't think there's much there's more. It's more
Mhm.
likely for like an asteroid to crash into Earth than that guy to make the playoffs this year.
He's
But
gonna, I think he's gonna upset the playoffs though. I think he's gonna win some
on a
games
run.
late in the year and really screw up some people who thought they had an easy win.
I think that George will be the factor as to who he knocks out of contention and into the consolation bracket. If
Hmm.
I had to guess right now, I think that you're going to see Wuhan move down. I think you're going to see the dead whale come alive and scoot on up the board, and then unfortunately, I was really hoping to see Team Nate do well this season. Started off well, but back to the way things tend to be, and then Tungat just was cursed with the Devontae plague this year, and I know we got a little management change up going on that team, but it might be a little too late. And the quarterback situation is not looking promising either. So I think Tungat's season is over as well. But yeah, I think you bump Wuhan down to that what do you call it, ninth seed, and then 10th will probably be Tungat, then Nate, and then George there at the
So
bottom.
we got the Takate boys slide in there. I see.
I think so.
I like it. That's a great segue to our next question. Is a DM I got from Josh McDaniels, cum dumpster. Your thoughts on the Raiders situation, and what do you think the impact of Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs moving forward is in the fantasy perspective?
That's a good one. I think both players are upset to stay on that team. I think that the organization's doing some of the moves that needed to happen, which is firing the head coach, the GM, and the offensive coordinator. But benching a veteran quarterback for a rookie, that might not be the best decision. Obviously, um, you know, Jimmy G hasn't been, putting up numbers, but I think with Tom Brady there, giving a little bit of mentorship, we could turn some things around. The rookie situation just isn't looking promising, and I think anyone that's rostering Jacobs or Adams is just going to take some low numbers. Jacobs obviously putting up more than Adams, but I would be trying to move Devontae, realizing that he didn't get traded. So that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of counter that a little bit, I do think getting McDaniels out of there, and I know Michael will love to hear this. I do think McDaniels getting out of there is a huge plus for that offense, honestly.
Agreed.
So I do think Devontae going forward is an interesting fantasy perspective. Whether he's clearly good. It's just a matter of will he be what he has been, and that's hard to say. But with a rookie quarterback, we saw with Will Levis this week. Hey, chuck it up to your guy; he's going to go get it. So maybe we get some of that in Vegas. We'll see.
This
But
is
yeah,
the season of quarterback.
yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how that all shakes out. But yeah, thank you for those questions, fans. Please keep them coming. I know we enjoy them every week, so please keep sending those in. And with that being said, it's time to talk some football. So to share the screen, gonna go over to some scoreboards, and we're gonna go back and review some games. So, I called my shot last week. Said I was gonna beat the shit out of Nate, and here we are. My team put up a nice number. George Kittle, that was a nice pickup for me. Good trade. Glad to see that I trade for a guy who doesn't tear his ACL right away. So that was fun. Herbert looked really good. I can't say that my running backs were great, but got some really nice performances from the kicker. And Josh Downs continues to be an excellent pickup for me. So really happy about that. Team Nate just kind of came out a little flat. Not that anybody well, I mean, Kyle Pitts went back to what he does, and the Saints defense was a rough start, but everyone else did okay. Obviously, underperformances by Diggs and pretty much everybody across the board, actually. But those numbers aren't hateful. It's just kind of everybody had a okay week, so I kind of get stuck with that sometimes. But yeah, so happy to get one and up to 3-5. So
Yeah, definitely. You cracked 100 there. You didn't get sucked in. Starting Sutton, so that was big. And then Team Nate. I can't say I would have done anything differently than he did, but it is frustrating to look down there and see, Hopkins sitting on the bench. I think you could go either way. Hopkins clearly being that veteran receiver, but then hasn't been performing, so I get it why he started Kendrick Bourne. But yeah, that's frustrating when you see him have probably the biggest game of his whole season, and that one swap might have won you that game. But that's coaching for you. And honestly,
yeah.
Congrats on the win. It wasn't like you it slimed on by. You cracked 100. You're almost up there at 110. You beat a good bit of teams on the
Yeah, I
board
earned
this
it a
week.
little bit.
Yep.
Moving in the right
So,
direction. Yeah, I will say for teammates' sake though, gotta look down on that bench and and to see players that are injured with Kyron Williams and Achane. Like when they're back, I do see Team Nate being very formidable as a team that's going to be happy or you're not going to be happy to face. I would say so, especially with up down week from Diggs there. Slide those two RBs in, or at least one of them. Diggs plays like he usually does, and this team's going to be tough to beat. But
yeah, but
happy to get
he
one done.
put up some serious points on me when I played him, so I don't want to face him again.
Yeah, he's got a. I mean, again, we say it every week on this thing, but everyone's got a pretty strong roster up and down. Moving on to the next game here, though, we got Risky versus Milkman, co-worker battle extraordinaire. Kind of an underwhelming score by both guys. I think both these teams are high powered and can definitely put up some big numbers as we've seen all year. But exciting that they played each other this week and we got a little bit of a tight matchup to where that Monday night game did matter a little bit. So obviously 4 points out of Mahomes really stinks. That's obviously the glaring disappointment after the good week he had last week. And then Milkman almost cracking 100. Not an awful week. Obviously, Johnny Smith in the tight end position let you down. This team, Achilles heel continues to be that tight end spot week in and week out. We'll see what Josh Jacobs moving forward. And that RB2 situation is a little bit unique until Jerome Ford gets back. So I like both these rosters still. I think they're obviously 5-3 and 6-2 for a reason. But yeah, just kind of a man week for both teams here.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to, touch on here. We already kind of touched on the Jacobs thing. Mahomes cost this game for
Hmm.
um, Mike, and I think Mike. I was kind of hoping Mike might win this one because Milkman's sitting at that second seed. I wanted to see him get knocked down, but Mike would have put up monster points if Mahomes had put up
I
what do
mean,
you
all he
call it,
needed was what,
30
six
points.
more? He needed to crack what, 10 points?
Yep.
Which
So
Mahomes has probably done every game of his career, it seems like. So
and Mike's team's heating up a bit. I think the only weakness he has really is Stevenson just has not been producing this year like he did last year. So Mike's team is definitely one to be contended with. So
sure.
um,
Yeah. Both strong
definitely either
rosters
way
here.
he could have gone. Yeah, but yeah, it is kind of funny seeing him lose because Mahomes just didn't do anything. So could have started Zach Wilson and won this game.
Yeah. Or Jared Goff. But
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no,
good, two
you're
good teams right here for sure. So
absolutely. And Milkman seems to be in a quarterback carousel conundrum here because he picked up Sam Howell last week. He played terribly. Slide CJ Stroud back in there. Sam Howell puts
yeah.
up 33. So just kind of having, and obviously we have Justin Fields who's out right now, but just kind of it makes it harder for you as a manager when you got three capable guys in fantasy to put it up. But
You should have known better about seeing this, Commanders play Philly because every year when they play, that's like one of those rivalry games. And for some reason, no matter how bad the Commanders are, they
they
do
play
well
them
against.
well. Yeah,
Yep. I
they
was
have their
tempted to
number.
start, my running back. Oh, it's slipping me right now. Long
Brian
day.
Robinson Jr.
Yep. I didn't just because he hadn't been performing as well this season, but Sam Howell, I probably would have started over Stroud this week. So
Oh, it's tough to say. But
Carolina's a soft matchup too, but they lost.
no,
So
he got the win, so that's what. But
yeah, it doesn't
speaking of
matter.
not needing any help, putting up a fucking huge number here at 177.8 to 121.5. Tough draw for Tyler here. Obviously, he beats, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in the league out of 12. So he loses to 3. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But when you run into a buzzsaw, obviously Dalton Schultz, rough day. But 121, you don't need to nitpick. 121 is going to win you a lot of games. And Rock Boys, I mean, up and down, every single fucking guy on this team. Even the bench almost had 100 points. So you couldn't have picked a bad lineup this week for this team. Wow. I mean, that's unbelievable. I have no comments. Everyone played great.
I love seeing this, especially because I snuck in there and got to take advantage of Josh on the bye week when he didn't have any of his Cowboys starting, and then you look at it, and he's got 20 points from his defense, 35 points out of Lamb, and then Josh Allen's just been a beast with all these rushing touchdowns. But yeah, Team Coleman's still a team to be reckoned with, but I'm glad to see him get knocked down a peg right here. And then probably the thing that makes me the most happy is I know Mike's going to watch this and see, Taysom Hill sitting down there on the bench with 21 fantasy points, and he's just going to be like itching to, formulate a trade for that guy. So, yeah,
Yeah, we
overall,
do.
just good. And I don't want to play Josh in the playoffs, is all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, this team seems to be a powerhouse, especially with Alvin Kamara again putting up a huge number and Eckler looking like he's going to be himself. So, kudos to Nick for that prediction that Eckler's going to get back on track. Watching that game Sunday, he looked like his old self, so that's great to see. But yeah, again, two really good teams here. Again, just Josh, everybody clicking on all cylinders, and hoping that everyone who clicked this week does not click the upcoming week. But we'll see who he plays when we get there. I don't have any insider information. And the other big ass number that we got put up this week was a 162 burger to again for Ed against poor George. Finally cracks 100. What would have beaten almost everyone in the league, the third highest score of the week, and you still lose. So sometimes it just ain't your year. But man, looking at George again, everybody played well. Javonte Williams has had 2 good weeks in a row now. And Najee's been okay. I mean, geez, this team's definitely going to win some games down the stretch, especially when Justin Jefferson comes back. And I'm glad that I played him already. I don't think I have to play him again because it's not an easy out like it was the first 6, 7 games of the year for him. And then Ed, this team's clicking now. Kind of what you worried about with a lot of these young players that had upside. Gibbs and Hall, monster stays. AJ Brown continues to be on this record-setting Hall of Fame level pace. And the first week we see both of them do well, combining for 50 points between the two Eagles receivers, which is fantastic to see. The only one who disappointed was Zay Flowers, who's been a model of consistency all year. So, yeah, and this team, and even my boy Rashad White has a nice day with 15 points on the bench. But yeah, just a huge number for Ed, and just unfortunate for George that he has a nice day finally, and nothing to show for it.
Yeah, I think honestly the way Ed's got his lineup set right now is pretty scary. I would not want to play that team. Lamar and Flowers had an off week, I would argue.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
weird
that they're
game.
only and against one of the easier teams too. It's kind of just frustrating. But hey, Ravens win. But I think that this is a very consistent team. Detroit has been playing awesome. Philly's been playing awesome. And then as far as the ground game goes, the Jets have been playing very well. So, Brees Hall and that Jets defense guaranteed points. Dallas always puts up monster points. Just Ed's team is solid. I hate to admit it. And then George, great performance. The only weakness that I really see there week to week's going to be, Najee Harris and then potentially Jerry Jeudy, probably about average, like where he's at there. But George is going to, I think, catch some wins. I do love seeing him just lose one after another. It's hilarious, but he's going to, upset someone.
Yeah, if he's gonna put up 125, he's gonna beat a lot of teams, and nobody wants to be that first win of the year against him, that's for sure. But
Burrow's back. That's the team right there. Burrow just really
Burrow's playing really well. Yeah, and that was a huge glaring issue earlier in the year for sure. What happened? What happened here? Low score of the week? Yeah, low score of the week.
And even on the bench, there's not a whole lot that could change it. Obviously you can argue almost every week that I probably make a mistake with either Nico Collins or Zach Moss, and this week it was Zach Moss again. The running backs on this team are just not consistent, but yeah, Waller getting the hammy injury didn't help, and then this team's kind of built around those two really the receiver core, but especially the two Rams.
Yeah,
I kind of had a feeling going into it against Dallas it wasn't going to be ideal, but I didn't think I'd get less than 10 points out of this thing. So it's just there's no beating anyone this week with that. But hey, I went down the roster at the beginning of the season, and I chopped up week 8 against Team Bucher is a loss. So I kind of planned for this one. But going forward, I am kind of torn. Waller hadn't performed, and I don't know how to say it. Njoku,
yes, that's correct.
He's actually looking a little better. So we'll see how that goes going forward. But yeah, overall, I think I'm probably middle of the pack kind of team, and would have been great to get one over on Nick, but Nick's just got an awesome team. I was kind of hoping Dak might let him down, and he didn't. He just overperformed like usual. So.
Yeah, your team is definitely the all or nothing team, I would say, of the season. There's always one every year where you can go anywhere from putting up 82 to putting up 140, and you could fall anywhere in between. But yeah, you definitely ride the coattails of these receivers here, and obviously Jalen Hurts had a really nice day, but everyone else kind of let you down. To your point with Njoku, as long as PJ Walker's quarterbacking and Watson's not out there, Njoku is definitely very serviceable. So at least he put the right defense in this week. So that's good for you at least. But looking at Beer's team, another really just consistently solid performance from everyone. Dak continues to be a great pickup. Team Nate, I bet, he had those 31 points as his quarterback this past week, but I believe it was Nate that dropped him. I could be wrong. Tony Pollard continues to be a huge disappointment this fantasy season. 6 points, but he's got to get going at some point, right? Kenneth Walker down day, just really just pretty solid performances up and down. No one really had an awful day, and 120 is going to get it done a lot and continues to hold down the number 1 spot. So
Yeah, I thought we'd get more out of this team between Pollard, DJ Moore, and the Ravens defense. I was expecting him to put up like a 150 on me, or 140. So 120,
yeah,
I'll take
and
40
it's
point.
this is like an okay week for this roster too. So
Yeah.
that's kind of scary to see. But we got this video in here that I want to make sure that we get sent in by a big fan of these two teams. So he wants to share this video here and express his feelings towards this next matchup. You see that okay?
Oh yeah, perfect.
Don't bury him yet. I'd love to add to the speeches.
Now maybe,
Oh my fucking God.
didn't mean to treat you bad, yeah, but I did anyway. Now maybe your friends will stand around you, watch you crumble as you fall to the ground, and then someday.
End of intro to funeral speech.
So
I'll take it from here.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's get into this.
Go.
All right. So yeah, this is probably my favorite matchup of the week right here. It comes down to the Monday night game, and then you got two Vegas receivers, that are out there, and especially because I've had Jacoby Myers last year on my roster, and he was just like a total upset and letdown for me week to week. When I'd start him, nothing. When I'd bench him, he'd let me down. And yeah, we just, both of these players had the opportunity to really smoke the other one out of the water. It was like a 1 point difference. And then, Devontae Adams, Coach Yogurt's been, really hyping this guy up, refusing to trade him, for, top 5 receivers in the league this year. And then, denying trades. And then it comes down to, his guy, and he can't get it done. And drops to 3-5 for his record. Lets Wuhan fleet up to 4-4. And it came down to those two players on the same team, and Devontae got outperformed by wide receiver 2. When he's by a long shot wide receiver 1. So couldn't have been happier to see this outcome. And I figured that video would probably be a perfect intro for this one, because I think that losing this game here is kind of the nail in the coffin. Week to week you're having trouble fumbling around which quarterback you're going to start. As you can see, he's gone in there for depth and even pulled in Minshew, hoping that might give him a third option. But yeah, the team's hurting. This would have been the week to try to take down Wuhan with Cousins, getting injured and not being able to finish out the game. Otherwise, he would have probably put up another 10 points on there, at least 5. But yeah, Tonga couldn't get it done. I think this team needs to explore some options as far as trades go and that kind of stuff. And then, you've been having some rough times starting Devontae, and obviously he's going to start Addison after what happened last week. But maybe consider cooling Devontae off, kind of the way Nate did, and then plugging Gabe Davis in there. Gabe Davis week after week's been proven to be pretty reliable asset there, coming in right there with Diggs. Diggs has been getting so much coverage that Gabe Davis has been getting a lot more passes and touchdowns. But yeah, now switching back over to Wuhan, this team's in trouble going forward. Cousins is out. I think we're going to see here in a minute what he did to correct that. But Hawkinson's been a lot of points for him in that tight end slot, and we'll see how that gets utilized. With Kirk being out, and then especially and have the 49ers on bye yet either. So yeah, I think this is why I think Wuhan might be trending down. So, what do you think?
No, I think you touched on a lot of the points that I had. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. I think the bigger, obviously, Wuhan gets the win here, and by a nail, and you hit on pretty much all the Raider points that there are. But I have a lot of concerns with this Wuhan roster moving forward. One, the quarterbacking position that we talked about. Christian McCaffrey is on bye this week, so that is the heart and soul of the team. Obviously, Miles Sanders has been an extreme disappointment. So I think Chuba Hubbard might be the lead back in Carolina now. I know his boy Jeff Wilson Jr. is back, but what are you going to get out of that? Obviously, he got 4.7 this week, but and then who knows with this Dobbs situation going to Minnesota, what that's going to do for Hawkinson. Obviously, McBride had some nice days, and Ertz had some solid days with Dobbs as well, but the weaponry in Arizona and the offensive style in Arizona is very different than the offensive style in Minnesota. Arizona, they're a very good running team. Minnesota is not. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Dobbs does in a more pass-heavy offense, where it's more reliant on him than it is for James Conner or Ermani DeMarcado setting the tone back there in the backfield. So a lot of questions with this roster moving forward. Really, some really great players on this team still. Obviously, when you have McCaffrey, you're going to be fine and win some games. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then feeding into Ryan's team moving forward here, Gus Edwards, all of a sudden, it seems to be a high-level RB1 for the Ravens. So we'll see if it's 3 weeks in a row here. Swift continues to be productive. Adams, no comment. Ridley had a decent day today, and Addison's been a really nice player all year. Again, we'll talk about Dobbs. We'll see what that does, see how that affects him, and so pretty decent rosters here up and down. I think Ryan lacks the depth. I think actually both these teams kind of lack that depth of ability to go into the bench and plug in guys and play that are going to produce consistently. Because in reality, in no world would I ever bench Devontae Adams. So it's going to be hard to get Gabe Davis in the starting lineup. And so I don't really see the starting lineup moving, but you get a couple injuries or you got some issues. I did give him a little bit of grief for not finding a starting spot for Dalton Kincaid this week when I saw him on Sunday. And obviously that if he finds him in the flex and maneuvers some things around, gets really out of there, Addison up to the wide receiver 2 and Kincaid in the flex, that's a win. So it's little stuff like that. You knew Kincaid was going to get the matchup and he didn't produce. So I think Ryan is a guy who's very prideful in his guys and wants to support them and believes in the names on the back of the jerseys. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that didn't work last year for him, and it ain't working this year. So
I got another point to make too with this real quick. So, that's a big point you brought up there. He used his first round draft pick to get Kelsey. Not going to argue, good decision. Kelsey's the guy. But this week, he chose to start Kelsey when he knew Taylor Swift was not going to be in attendance at the game.
Good point.
And then he's got Kincaid down there with the softer matchup. The writing was on the wall for that one. Even if we didn't think the Chiefs were going to lose to Denver, but regardless, the math is showing week to week this season. Don't start Kelsey if she's not there. And he slipped up. He did it, and it cost them. Almost. Let's see how many points here.
About 7.
Points. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, in a game this close, you can nitpick all you want. I went a little bit more generous with getting Ridley out of there and putting Kincaid in the flex, but whatever the situation was, there was a winning formula there. But still 3-5. I mean, I'm 3-5, and I feel like I have a chance. So, this team moving forward. Obviously, you don't feel that way with your coffin burial, but I do see.
I lost to that team though, so got to give him credit there. But I think it is mismanaged, to say the least.
Well, there it is. Said the big words. Moving on to this week's matchups. Me versus Rock Boys. The dead whale may fall down here off of a 2-game win streak. We got a fully staffed, strong Rock Boys coming off a 170-point win, almost 180. And there's little old me with my 103 projections. So you can look at my bench. No Kittle this week, no Kirk, no McManus, no Sutton. I did pick up Leonard Fournette. I do think that might be a little sneaky play that I made. We'll see how that turns because Buffalo's running situation stinks, but if he can be a touchdown vulture, might end up being some depth for me. We shall see. But looking at Josh's team here, I mean, all the check marks on the left. All these guys had huge weeks last week. There's no reason to think they won't again. Adam Thielen has been nothing but fantastic all year for Carolina. The two running back doubleheaded monster. Eckler may run into some issues with the Jets, but he gets those passes, so I think he'll be okay. And Kamara going against a really soft Chicago defense. Yeah, I'd like Josh to crush his projection probably once again. I think my projection's a little low. I think Downs continues to be awesome. Does Olave do anything? Probably not. So I think I might go close to 110, but I think Josh probably gets close like 130, 140. So I think he beats me pretty good this week, unfortunately.
Yeah, not much to say. You know, this is a tough one for sure. Statistically, it looks like he's got it. And you know, there's a reason he's sitting in, you know, top three spots. I think all top three teams, the odds are not, you know, in our favor to beat these guys. But you know, I will say though, you know, it just takes one player, you know, McLaurin or someone to just not perform, and then you know you're back in it. So I wouldn't lose hope, but I do have to lean Rock Boys on this one.
Yeah, maybe we'll get this Chris Olave touchdown game that we've been waiting on all year. So
I'd love to see you knock him down. Don't get me wrong.
oh yeah, I'd love to keep the vibes going. I don't think it's feasible. Ooh, look at this projection here. Do we have real lineups? It appears that we have no buys, so I'm gonna assume that these are the rosters that we're gonna go with moving forward starting this week. So that is awesome to see a 0.3 difference between a team that is 3-5 and a team that is 6-2. Going with Sam Howell for the Milkman, I see making the decision against the New England defense who doesn't have any corners. So probably a good decision, I think, there.
Oh, yeah.
Miami versus Kansas City. I believe that's prime time. That's going to be awesome to watch. So good to see Tyreek Hill get some love on prime time. Should be fun to watch there. Tight end position, again, always scares me. Taylor Heineke at the helm now, quarterback for Atlanta. Desmond Ridder getting benched. We shall see how that goes. I do believe that Heineke is a fan of the tight ends, so we shall see if Jonnu puts up some production. And then moving over to Team Nate here, Komet talking about backup quarterbacks and their tight ends. The homie Badgent, very white chocolate-esque type guy. Little Malibu's most wanted action if you've seen the guy. But yeah, he threw to Cole Kmet 10 times and he had 10 catches. So clearly that's a connection that they like. This team's getting better. Jonathan Taylor gets better every week. Bijan should be full strength. Looking at this, and Stephon Diggs coming off of the slower week, I think he picks it back up. Kind of a counterbalance to Tyreek a little bit. And for that reason, I'm going to give the edge to Team Nate to take this win here.
Yeah, I think just to sum it up, I agree with everything you said. I think this game's going to depend a lot on two things. So Taylor's getting an increased amount of ball share. I think that this is the week we see him break away from that and increase it even more, especially against Carolina. I don't think you're going to have the need to swap him out every couple plays. So I think that you're going to see Taylor probably crack 20 here. And then on top of it, the only thing that would make me lean towards Milkman would be if Stafford, obviously he injured his,
yeah, that's a good point.
His thumb or finger or something in, what do you call it, one of the defender's face masks.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. So he might have to pick up a quarterback here, which
it's thin picking right now. So if Stafford starts,
Green
Bay is the defense. I think if Stafford starts, I'm going Team Nate. If he doesn't start, I'm leaning the other way.
Yeah, I mean, we got who's our Kenny Pickett, who is going to play
That's
tomorrow.
by Zach Wilson right now.
Zach Wilson or Derek Carr against Chicago. Yeah. I mean, they're kind of interchangeable, honestly, with Stafford. Carr. So for that reason, I'll stick with my pick because you know, we see he's averaging 14 points, so any of those guys can do that too. So okay,
I think Stafford's going to have a bigger week than 16 if he plays, just because it's like I think
Green Bay sucks.
We bounce back and have big passing game here.
I know you're hoping for that.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd love to see Team Nate knock Milkman down to 6-3. That'd kind of even up the playing field. So, but
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely benefit me for Milkman to win. I just see it for
it
teammate
would.
this week. So, moving on here to good matchup here. We got the rear view camera versus the risky dipper. Man, that 110 just feels a little disrespectful, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Well, we got Gibbs on by, Laporta on by. McBride had 20 points last week, so we'll see how he does. New quarterback under there, but tight ends and rookie quarterbacks usually go together like cheese and a fine wine. So that should be fine there. Big matchup, Eagles Cowboys this weekend. That should be fun. A lot of
yeah,
really good matchups this week. So really good football, really good TV. Yeah, so that 110 still feels disrespectful. Shout out Rashad White getting the start. Yeah, that 110 feels just a little disrespectful for him to just put up 160. Switching over to Mike here. Kansas City, Miami. That's going to be really fun too. I've said that a lot this game, but they got some good matchups. No
right.
Ayuk this week. That's really it. So we got Christian Watson, who's been a huge disappointment in the starting lineup this week. Saquon in there against a Raiders team that has no heart and soul. So that should be a nice day for him. Yeah, I mean, Mostert against Kansas City. Kansas City's rush defense is very strong. So I think that projection, I know he's had a really great year, but that projection feels a little high for Mostert. And then who knows what you get with Goddard. So just kind of looking at these two teams with the way that they've kind of been playing, some of the matchups they have. I'm going to go for rear view here, I guess, pulling the upset. Continues to climb the ladder up towards that number one overall spot, which I think is obtainable for him at this point with the way that these guys are going.
Yeah, I think this game, you know, it's either going to be pretty close or I think Risky is going to really just run away with it. And my big rationale for that is just, last week you had a rivalry game with Philly against Commanders, and they played pretty high scoring. So another rivalry game with Philly against Dallas, but Dallas is a little better. We'll see how that plays out. I just don't see it being as high scoring of a game. I think he's going to get let down by probably AJ Brown. I think he's probably going to get covered a lot more than expected. Devonta Smith, I think, will definitely perform. And then I think Goddard's going to be the touchdown magnet on that team this week. So I'm going to lean Risky on this one for sure. But a lot for his team is going to come down to, is that Miami Kansas City game a high scoring game or one of those like low scoring games when you
Games
see
you
two good
see,
teams?
you just kind of you don't expect to, because in my mind it's like, oh, that game's going to be like 35 or 32 or something like that, but it could end up being 17-10. But yeah, I mean that's a good point though with the Eagles game over there, real quick. Just kind of hit on that. I do think that's a great observation of who's the touchdown guy. Who one of those three is going to get one. Who's it going to be? So that's probably the point. But obviously, AJ and Javonte each get one. Then we're flipping the script here. But I think it's going to be a really good game nonetheless. But pretty exciting matchup there for the league. So 5-3 teams as well. So that's good to see.
Right.
Let's see here. We got Team Bucher
I wish
versus
I
Team
wish
Bucher.
both of those teams could lose somehow. So
All right, let's see. We got a Team Bucher that is full strength, ready to go. And we have a Team Coleman who is ETN's on bye, which really stinks. That means Damian Pierce is going, probably Damian Pierce has to start, right? That's kind of the assumption I'm going to make. Or Royce Freeman, I guess, maybe. I don't know. He'd probably go Pierce, I think. But yeah, I don't think this one takes too much analysis here. Obviously, the projection's a little bit off because ETN is obviously in the starting lineup. But Team Bucher has the guys, gets done every week. It seems like I predict a big, nice, fat game for Tony Pollard. Feeling that, believing in that. And for that reason, I'm going to say that Bucher takes this one down a little bit closer than that projection. No, I'd probably say maybe a 10-point game. Feels about right.
yeah, I'm going to lean Bucher. I think Dak underperforms, Pollard overperforms. I think Mattison's going to get a little bit more points than projected just because with the new quarterback situation there in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, the only thing that could shift this one, and I'm still leaning Bucher, would be Jamar. does Jamar pop off and have one of those 50-point games? If so, Tyler's back in it. But if
For
not,
sure.
so it's going to come down to that game, I think.
Yeah, it really
Otherwise,
sucks. Really sucks losing ETN this week because ETN's in there. I think this is a much more coin flip type game because ETN's been a 25-point monster every week, so that's clearly a huge difference maker.
yeah, Bucher's fleeting up to 7-2 on this one. And Tyler talks a lot of smack, so I'm okay with it.
Well, we got. Well, we have Tonkat, your favorite, versus I'm on a new level with his entire team on bye. So that stinks. But yeah, geez. We got Gardner making the starting lineup because both of his quarterbacks are also on bye. So that's fun. But yeah, I don't think this one requires much conversation either. I mean, Duke or George didn't really make too many moves on the waiver wire, I don't think. So might slap a lineup together, might not. I don't think it matters. I think this one's over before it starts.
Yeah. I think Tongat's going to catch the win on this one. I'm going Tongat. I think that he's frustrated. He's having issues with Devontae, but this is a good week for him to kind of work it out. Test out a different quarterback. Obviously, it's looking like he's going to do against that soft matchup with Carolina. But yeah, just with everyone on bye, it's just not gonna happen. I don't think this week for George. I would have loved to see George catch his first win against Ryan. Ryan's been up on me this season, but it's just not going to happen. There's nothing that can really pop off. Even if Burrow cracks out 30 points, he ain't catching Tonga. And Tonga's got a good team. And I think when we talked about those Eagles that are in position to score, I think with AJ Brown probably being covered, I think that if they're in the red zone, that definitely bumps Swift up into that spot. And Swift has definitely been burning it down the sidelines and open for
He's been
passing
awesome
to the end zone. So I think Ryan's going to get a touchdown with Swift this week as well. And then no matter who he puts at quarterback, let's see, Gardner.
It's his only choice.
Okay, yeah, so that makes feel a little bad about bumping him on the quarterback thing then earlier. It makes sense why he did that. Not a bad guy to go with this week for that. And he's proven himself earlier this season. So Ryan's taking the win for sure.
Yeah, and I can't help but notice this lineup that Ryan set looks like the one that he should have set last week. But I digress.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be something though if George won that game?
It would be the way Ryan's season's going. If George is going to catch a win, it's going to be this season. And you love fantasy because that type of stuff happens. So
yeah, and just all the pressure's on Ryan here to get this one done. But
yeah. I mean,
well,
we're going to have to call Ryan and make sure he's okay if he doesn't pull this one off. So
yeah, he might be on suicide watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got a full strength people's champion, it looks like, besides 49ers defense. But I like that Falcons defensive switch for Minnesota with that new quarterback in 10. Or the rookie that they play, Hall, I think his name is. I don't think he's very good. And obviously Wuhan, Will Levis is picked up, gotta be inserted into the starting lineup. I don't care what configuration you put here for Wuhan. Doesn't matter to me how he figures out who he's going to play or whatnot. You don't have Christian McCaffrey in fantasy football. You do not win with this roster. People's champion takes this one down pretty handily. I think you get a good bounce back week for a lot of your guys. And yeah, you probably win by 30, 40 points, I think.
Yeah, and I've been having some bad luck just like Brian, but I think no matter how he reconfigures this, unless someone wanted to hook him up to knock me down a peg, Wuhan's walking, or I'm walking away with this one on Wuhan. Couldn't ask for a better week to play him. This is kind of like the week I played Mike, and he just wasn't observing his bench. Did not have McCaffrey and Debo in there, and then Cousins going down as well because Cousins has been really good this season.
Yes,
I couldn't ask for a better matchup in my favor. And then I got lucky. I did a quick little switch out and was able to drop the Colts defense for the Falcons defense up against that Minnesota with no quarterback right now.
Yeah, who knows what
So
that's going to look like.
yeah, I ended up missing out on Levis on that one, but I didn't want to prioritize him over what do you call it? My defense. I think that would have been critical going into this week. Definitely need those
Yeah,
points.
and I think to that, you have Jalen Hurts. You're not switching him out for anyone. So going and prioritizing getting your starting lineup set, I think, over a backup quarterback is probably a fair decision to make for sure. So,
And I'm always looking 2 steps ahead for that backup quarterback, obviously, for next week, which is my bye week. And I'm settling with Carolina on this one. I forget who they play next week, but it's a pretty soft matchup. So
let's see, we got they got Chicago next week. So yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough. No, that's good. So yeah, no, I think that's it. So just to synopsis these picks, just so it's easier for me to find them in the video. Did not tally up last week's record, so I gotta go back and do that. So next video I'll have last week's and this week's results, the new records for anyone that gives a shit about that. So we both got Rock Boys. I was on Team Nate. You're on Milkman.
I'm on Nate if Stafford plays. If Stafford does not play, I'm on Milkman. If
All
Nate
right,
doesn't have a
well,
backup.
We'll give you that. I'm on Ed. You're on Mike, right?
Correct.
We're both on Bucher.
Yep.
We're both on Ryan.
Yep.
And we're both on you. All right, so only one difference there. Don't let me down, Ed. It's your wedding weekend. You better not. You better show the hell up. So yeah, that's that. Thank you for joining me on the short notice once again. Hopefully some of these newbies show out.
You said it's Ed's wedding weekend and he's up against Mike.
Yeah, he's getting married on Saturday.
I can't imagine the disrespect that Mike's gonna be sending that way, especially the day after his wedding and some of the comments that were made earlier in the season too.
Well, so. I think that's water under the bridge. I understand that those managers had to sit down and both realize that alcohol can sometimes lead you to make poor decisions with your mouth or thumbs in some cases, but nonetheless, water under the bridge. We're all good. We're all happy. Everyone's having a good time. But yeah, congrats to Ed. Sorry for all of his friends and family who have to hear me give a speech about Ed this weekend. It's gonna be, we'll see what it should be good, but I'm a little nervous about it, but it should be fine. But yeah, it'll be good. Any closing remarks in regards to the fantasy week or moving forward? Anything we talked about today that stood out?
No, I think it'll be an interesting week for sure. I think the big takeaway from this week is we're 1 week closer to the playoffs, and there's a lot of teams that the matchups aren't guaranteed on this week that are kind of in the middle of the pack. So coming out of this week, I think we'll have a better idea on who properly managed their team for bye weeks. And some teams are going to climb that ladder, and some are going to, head down towards the bottom. And I think we'll have a better idea on who's going to get into the playoffs and who's not after this week. For sure.
Yeah,
so.
And it kind of feels a little unfortunate for me that I got off to the slow start that I did because I have Josh this week, and then I believe I have Bucher next week. So that looks a little rough for me to make the playoffs to climb that ladder that you've spoken of. But anything's possible until the season's over. So looking forward to some good games. Hopefully some upsets in our matchups here.
George.
Yeah. Oh, we're calling the shot. Could you imagine? That would be awesome.
That would just be crazy.
That would be great. But again, thanks for joining me. Gonna hit end here and have a good week. Good luck.
Thanks, you too. Have fun at the wedding.